Hi, happy New Year almost. Um, I am making this video because I need to air a lot of things and get them off my chest. But also, in recovery, we learned that the opposite of addiction is connection, right? And I'm not going to tell everyone all of this that's going on in my life because I want a pity party or sympathy. I want to connect. I want to maybe help the next person that's going through some garbage like I am. Life has not been easy. Life has been lifey for a lot of people. And first and foremost, I try and stay in gratitude. I'm so very grateful for the things that I do have. The health of my children, my basic needs met, the little bit of family I have left, my amazing community, and my chosen family, my friends, my AA community, my church, my animals, all of the things that are most important in life. I try to write gratitude lists as often as I can so that I am not sitting here making a bullshit list. But I think it's time that I start talking about it so it doesn't eat me alive inside and continue ruminating in my head. And quite frankly, I think that a lot of my extended family and maybe even some of my friends are tired of hearing about it. My life started out pretty okay. My parents were teachers, and they had a cute little house in the suburbs, and I had an older brother, and my mom was the hostess with the mostest, and my extended family was over all the time, and then tragedy struck, and my brother was killed right before Christmas. He was hit by a car. He's 5, and it ruined everything. And I hear stories about what my parents were like before that, but they certainly weren't like that after. And I think my extended family has had their fair share of the dumpster fire that was my family, and just can't really, they don't have the spoons to handle it anymore as it continues in my life as I try to pick up the pieces. So, and that's, it just, I have to accept that. I think also because I'm in a different tax bracket now than I was at one time. There's a lot less that they can relate to. We don't take vacations or have vacation homes, or we're not able to pay for expensive sports, or just completely different lifestyles. And it's hard because when you're little and your cousins are your best friends, none of that matters. But as you get older and your life is not as on track as others are, and a lot of that is just due to my unfortunate circumstances. People tend to just fade away, you know. It's definitely been one thing after another in my life, and I can understand that you get tired of hearing about it. So, but I still have the people who check in all the time, and my cousin Bill, who is also a champion of recovery, has been one of my biggest cheerleaders, and he's all the way in San Diego, but he still makes an effort to talk to me a couple times a week, sometimes a couple times a day, and I don't know what I would do without him. But things started to fall apart, I think, a little bit before COVID. One thing after another, my mother-in-law died, and there's all kinds of other stuff that is not, I'm not going to get into right now, but eventually the worst thing was my dad died. A lot of people don't know that he did commit suicide. My extended family doesn't know. I don't know that I could explain it to them or that they would even believe me, but he and I had discussions about it, and there's certain facts that I know that that's what happened. He had told me at one point in my life the only reason he didn't kill himself after my brother died was because suicide didn't pay out with life insurance. And then a few days before he passed, we had a conversation where he talked about how old he was with all of his disabilities and medical issues, and how no one would ever know. Anyway, Dad died, and Mom and Dad's life was a mess, and Dad didn't have a will, and after he passed away, I was in no shape with my mental health to deal with all of the legality issues behind it. I suffered with my own depression and neurodiversity. I've been in and out of hospital since the 6th grade for my mental health, and one of the things that I'm so grateful for is almost 2 years ago, I was hospitalized, and I had an incredible doctor who talked me into something called ECT therapy, which I'll go into at a different time, but it completely changed my mind, completely changed my brain, and changed my life, and changed my outlook, and it's safe to say my depression is in remission. I'm a little weepy right now, but nowhere near, the past where I had been suicidal and couldn't get out of bed and all that other crap. Anyhow, Dad died. There was no will. I was not in any shape to be able to deal with the legal issues. I kind of half-assed it to try and get the house into my name. Was hospitalized 2 or 3 times. My autistic son had been hospitalized. He had a medical emergency with a really complicated appendectomy. His appendix ruptured, and then he was hospitalized for all kinds of complications, and basically by the time I got healthy enough to deal with the house, it was in foreclosure, getting ready to be sold, and the hoops to jump through to try and save it has been the biggest source of anxiety, and I understand from a lot of people's perspective, it's a house, right? That you shouldn't be emotionally attached to things, and I completely understand that. I have learned how much those material things don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Some of the happiest, most devoted, hardworking, faithful, loving people I've ever met were people that lived in abject poverty in Kenya. And, but the thing that the people in Kenya do have is community. They have a village. They help each other. I was amazed to see how moms helped each other out there. we just don't do that anymore. Generations don't live with each other. And so in some ways they have a lot more support in that way. They may not have money or material things, but they have love, and they have, just unconditional love and support and generational support. And that is something that I just don't have at this time. And the home is one that I grew up in, and the community is my family. My next door neighbor delivered my twins, I know everybody who lives here. A few houses down is the Historical Society, which I'm a part of because this house is 130 years old. This is like the last bit of family that I have, like the last tie I have to any family. My little brother lives in Hawaii. We don't have very close contact anymore. And other than that, I really, like I said, my extended family has pretty much had enough of this dumpster fire. It's troubling because if my mental illness had been cancer, then I feel like people would have been kinder. I think I also am seen as, bad at managing money, maybe just lazy, or maybe you just stupid, but they know how intelligent I am. I was so very autistic at a young age. There's a video of my first birthday where my cousin, who's just a few weeks older than me, is super happy, like opening presents, playing on this little toy horse that she got, and I'm off in the corner chewing on a Star Wars toy and not responding to my name. I started reading in 18 months, and there's a lot of things. I have a super high IQ, but executive function is something I struggle with. Executive function is one of the hardest things to deal with in my life, and that's what this whole world is based on now. I'm an 80s kid that took one computer class, and even being able to make this video is amazing. I don't even know if I'll be able to upload it. At this time, I have to email all of my documents that I write to myself, pull them up on my phone in order to print them, because I don't know how to get the printer to work for my computer, like stuff like that. But also just phone calls and mail, and my parents have bank accounts that I'm entitled to that money, but I have filed so many times to try and get it, and there's always some kind of discrepancy, and I can't figure it out. And I know early on I should have hired an attorney to help me with my dad's finances, but I wasn't there at the time. So anyhow, the house is my solace. It's like the one stable thing I have in my life. Domestic violence and just very unhealthy relationship with my my husband, who were separated, and my poor kids have been through so much. They've had so much loss, and I won't detail all of the things right now, but we've finally gotten my oldest son, Gideon, stabilized. He has autism. He's, what they call high functioning, but he struggles, and we finally got him on track, and he enjoys school, and he's in the school band and on the school newspaper, and wonderful teacher, wonderful principal. He's on the right meds. He is a great therapist. We have some stability in his life, and I've got 2 other neurodivergent kids as well, and the idea of losing this house, becoming homeless, trying to find temporary shelter or temporary housing, most likely having to get rid of our dogs. which that's another thing my family doesn't quite understand, is our connection with our animals. Especially my one dog, Pepita, who was completely feral when I got her, and I had to rehab her and teach her how to be a dog and live in a house and be okay with people. And her eye had been gouged out by a fight, and I can't imagine her having to start all over again. But I'm trying to separate myself from it and realize that, maybe what I see as a first world problem really is a first world problem. It's just a house, and starting over could be a good thing. But so what I did was I ended up getting some legal support through Chicago Legal Aid, got an attorney, filed for bankruptcy to put a stay on the sale of the house. This was a year ago. All of the paperwork, all of the court stuff, all of the stomach aches and late nights up, researching things and asking ChatGPT like what my chances were and all this other stuff. And I'll tell you, ChatGPT has come a long way, because it'll often say, "Don't worry, Sarah, you're not alone. I'm here for you." Which, I know it's just a bot, a computer, but it's huge. But anyway, the situation now is I applied for a loan modification that would be part of my bankruptcy. It was denied, which meant that they then dismissed the bankruptcy, which means that the house is going to go back into foreclosure, and then after a couple of months, it'll be set to sale. And so now I'm scrambling at this point, trying to figure out, okay, what's the next steps here? So I filed an appeal to the loan modification, and hoping that they will see that. And I've done some research about it, and my brain just hurts from all of it. And I just, people who are going through legal stuff with foreclosure, and it is a crime. It's a crime, because you can not in any way know all of this stuff, and these banks have lawyers that are more powerful than you, and there's so much that has gone on that I don't quite understand. And it's as somebody who has learning disabilities, it's not favored in my my direction. So I'm asking for prayer. Right now it's appealing the denial, hopefully that they will accept the loan modification, and best case scenario, the arrears, or the close to 60 grand that I owe in back payments, I'll pay them over time and catch up on the mortgage, and everything will be fine. Wonderful. But there's like a 50-50 chance. So then the other thing is the possibility of a short sale. And I can find somebody I know that might buy the house and rent it back to me, or somehow I can get a loan for 60 grand and pay the arrears on the house and make the mortgage current. There's also just selling the house outright, and there's a ton of equity in the house. There's like 100 grand equity in the house, which is crazy. But at this point, I can't refinance. I can't get a home equity loan. My credit is crap. Not like I never even had a credit card in my life, but my credit is because I don't have credit. I got married, the house was in his name, the cars were in his name, anything that we owned was always in his name. So it's not really bad credit, it's no credit. And then the other thing is just selling it and taking the money I have and figuring it out from there. But even then, trying to stay in this school district so I don't disrupt the kids. it takes a very long time to find housing, and most likely when they foreclose, it'll be like 2 or 3 months before they sell the house. So then, it's most likely gonna be like temporary housing, or like shelter type situations. And before I go further, I will say that I do have an uncle who has been generous and has given money to me for, like Christmas for the kids and things like that. And so I'm so grateful for his generosity, and I don't want anyone to think that, I have these wealthy family members that just won't help. But I think they helped enough with my parents when they were having financial stuff, and they just kind of want to be done with the shit show, and I have to be okay with that. But yeah, it's not easy, and my heart goes out to people who, I am grateful that I have the ECT and that my brain is clear enough now that I can navigate a lot of these processes, because it's so overwhelming, and to know the little nuances, and it it's just, it keeps you up at night. The law is tricky. It's for damn sure. But that being said, I have applied to go back to school. At this point, I feel like I've learned so much legal stuff that I want, at the very least, to pursue a paralegal degree. Anyhow, like I said, I'm not having a pity party. I know that there's still hope. I know that there's still so much to be grateful for. And even anybody who's listening to this, I'm grateful for you. And I'm with you for those who are struggling, whether it be a house or, a car. Well, my car. I hit a deer like almost a year ago, and the mechanic, I did everything right. I had, all the right paperwork and all the right contracts, and I paid, close to, my car was pretty much totaled. I paid close to like $6,000, and he then disappeared. And now I have to go through all of that to get my car back. So that's a whole nother thing. But, people who are dealing with, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? It's scary. I'm grateful for my faith in God. And that is a huge part of recovery too, is surrender. To know that God will see me through one way or another. It may not be the plan that I want, but he won't fail me, right? And I will continue to be blessed in little ways, and I have to continue finding God's light in my shit show. I've been able to connect with other moms who are struggling, and I've been able to help them with the little that I do have, and I find that to be a huge blessing. The village, that's what this is supposed to be about in this country, in this world that is so divided right now. Connection is what we need. Every time I see those monks on their peace walk, I am just driven to tears. There's so much said in the silence of a walk, of a march, of just solitary, unified peace, connection, community. And that's what we need more than anything right now in this world, is for us to help each other. And if anyone who knows me knows that I will do anything to help somebody, I will go out of my way to give and give and give, because I know what it's like to be without. And it's just part of my nature. And so that's kind of why I'm doing this. Part of recovery, again, part of what we learn in AA. And I have 10 years sobriety by the grace of God. Thank you. Part of the things that we learn is that we help ourselves when we help each other. So, all right, enough crying. I am going to go back to my fudge, because that's how I'm coping right now. Chocolate peanut butter fudge. And also I want to let you know I'm not in prison. My daughter has a loft bed over my bed. She's scared of sleeping by herself since her papa passed away. So instead of her sleeping in my bed, we've transitioned to a bunk bed over my bed. But it's hit or miss whether or not she sleeps up there most nights. But I'm not sad having my babies close to me. Anyhow, love your babies, love each other, and God bless you all. I wish you all a wonderful new year. Let's hope that this one is much better than the last. All right, I love you all.